Hi, welcome to the We're Not From Hollywood podcast. I'm Brandon Reines.
I'm Faisal Jamal, and we have a special guest today. Last time I forgot her name, and we will constantly be talking about it. Julie, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm never going to forget that. You realize that, right?
I know. As soon
Never.
as,
And
honestly, as it was recording, I was like, this is not good. I need to remember this name.
it would be forgivable if we had only done like maybe one or two projects together, but we've literally
No.
done like you can count on two hands. If you've been to my house parties,
Yeah.
Basil,
We
what
drove
the
to
hell?
Calgary together at one point.
We
We
told each
spent
other our deepest, darkest secrets on that trip to Calgary.
Basil, if it makes you feel
Unbelievable.
any better, there's about 10 things that I've done that Julie's like sworn revenge on and it's never happened. So she does forget eventually.
we're just gonna find Julie has an enemies list that she's been keeping this whole time.
Absolutely. No, oh my God, I've got a memory like a goldfish. Brandon is totally right there. I'll forget about that tomorrow.
Okay, so Julie, you have the honor of being our very first guest on the show. This is our second
Woohoo.
episode. Um, so I guess I'll start off with the first question and basically just tell us how you first became involved in acting.
In acting, I kind of just decided that I wanted to be an actor. Yeah. I How did it start? I was looking for okay, what I was doing was I was looking for hobbies. I remember I was having a conversation with one of my clients. I'm a personal fitness trainer. And this was just when my youngest son had gone into grade one. So, kindergarten is half day and grade one is full day. So I was still busy with work, but at this point, I had a little bit more freedom to sort of explore some hobbies and passions. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I remember I was talking with this client and I said to her, like I kind of want to try pottery. I want to take ballet. There was a couple of different things I wanted to try. And she's actually a musical theater actress. So she said, you know what? I think you'd be good at acting. And I thought, oh yeah, I think I'd be good at that too. That sounds fun. So I just went online and I looked for specifically theater auditions that were happening within the city. And the Walterdale Theater was putting on a show called The Women. And it's a cast of 16 or 17 women, full female cast. And I think there was like over 100 women auditioning for this show. So I thought, okay, I'm going to audition for this because I felt safe auditioning for it. My first time I said, there's over 100 women here, experienced women auditioning for these roles. So I'm obviously not going to get it. So I thought it'd be a good practice. So I went out and I did the audition and I ended up getting the lead villain role of Crystal Allen. Um, and I loved it. I absolutely loved performing in front of a live audience. It's thrilling, but it's also theater. Theater takes a lot of time with not your auditions, your rehearsals, leading up to tech week, and then tech week you're there every single week, or sorry, every single day, and then the run of the show was like 10 days or whatever. So it took a lot of time, took me out of my home for a lot of time, which was a bit of a challenge. So because of that, I started to look into film and television. And so same sort of deal. I went online and looked for film auditions that were happening. And the first one I saw was for a TV show called Off the Edge. It was Wild TV. So again, I thought this is my first TV audition. I'm not going to get it. It was so much fun. It was like a semi-scripted audition. So they had given me a couple of different scenarios beforehand, and we're like, just pick one, or we'll pick one, and then we'll improv it when you're here. So yeah, I did that. I think I did something about a camping trip. I did the audition with Jade Benoit. I don't really remember it. I remember we were talking about like I remember like starting
That
my
was the
period.
cougar. It was a cougar hunt one, right?
Yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah,
talking
like
about starting.
I wrote I can't remember if I wrote the original script, but I did some. That's how I first knew about you because I was writing that. I wrote a draft of the script somehow. I've never even watched the show. I don't know if any of my stuff made it in, but Jarvis was like, because it was right around the time we're doing a painting of Ebony Shaw, and he's like, by the way, like there's this like actor in there, Julie Whelan. She's from Newfoundland and she's really good. You should cast her in your movie. So I was like, yeah, sure. But I was like, I don't, because I watched one of the episodes. Actually, I knew of Jade like before I knew of you. So I watched one of the earlier episodes. And I was like, oh, she's pretty funny. But I was like, I've never worked with this Julie person. Like, she doesn't have like any sort of reel or anything. So I was like, okay, well, I'll give her like one word in the movie. She has one line, it's one word. So really, if she screws it up, it'd be hard to screw that up. And kind of led to where we are now. But yeah, you were off the edge. That's totally where I first saw you.
Yeah, you wrote that script. I rewrote it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what
I
made
made
you
a couple
guys
of things.
decide to start collaborating? Because like I've only ever known you guys as a team, basically. I've always been like, well, if Brandon's there, then Julie's gonna probably be there. If Julie's there, then likely Brandon's gonna be there.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
that's
what started you the collaboration?
well, like Brandon said, he reached out to me. We were also, I had seen, like, he had seen my name, heard from Jarvis, but we were in a lot of the same, like, Facebook film groups.
Hmm.
And so, like, he saw I was doing stuff. I saw that he was doing stuff. So he reached out to me, was like, hey, are you free this weekend? And I was like, yeah, I'll come out. And so we did the painting of Ebony Shaw together. And then after that, I wrote a screenplay and I produced a short film. And I felt very confident in, like, shooting it and writing it and producing it, but I had no directorial experience. So I thought, oh, well, I worked with Brandon and, I think he'd be good for this. So I hired him to direct Hideaway. And we just like really clicked on that set for sure. Like we had a lot of the same ideas, a lot of the same visions. And the film came out exactly how I had pictured it. So I thought, okay, this is, we're good together. We work to get good together. And then I think every single project after that, whether it was Brandon's or whether it was mine, we collaborated on.
Yeah, and I remember it was like shortly after that we started doing Hotbox, and I think there was at one time there was like seven producers on Hotbox. It was me, Lindsay Christopher, Alex Glant, a bunch of other people, and slowly they kind of a bunch of people backed out. And I think we were supposed to shoot in like June. It was sometime in the summer we were supposed to shoot, and something happened and we couldn't. And some of the producers were kind of like they didn't believe it was going to happen, and they're just like, basically, we don't have faith that you can do it. And I was like, what are you talking about? We're going to do it. Like it's just not right now. And they were like, well, they just backed out. So it was left with me and Lindsay, and I was like, shit, like I don't know if we can do it ourselves. It's a lot of work. And then I was like, hey, that Julie Whelan I worked with, she was like insanely organized. Like, let's ask her if she wants to join. So we did, and Julie was like, "Yeah, I'm really busy and stuff. Like, I can probably help out a bit." And so we're like, "Okay, well, between three of us, we hopefully we can make it happen." And honestly, we could have pulled that movie off with only Julie as the producer because she ended up just doing like 80% of the work, um, which was great. Like, honestly, that movie would not have happened without her. And then after that, it's like, yeah, like, she's invaluable on a film set.
Thanks, B-Rat.
So before you did the play though, you never did any like did you do like school plays or anything like that? Or was that the first time you'd done like anything creative, period?
Nothing.
Damn. That's a big decision to make off the bat is to just like, well, I'm gonna go audition for this like
Yeah, but you know what? It wasn't a big decision because to me, I was just trying out a new hobby. Like to me, it was always just a hobby. It was something to do, and then it just snowballed and developed into what it is today. So yeah,
So I
I
find
did
that
not
funny
like
too.
look at my plan to be where I am today. It did not happen.
I think some people just have like must have that natural talent because like there are like there's a lot of good actors in Edmonton, but some of them like it's like they're kind of good at like one thing. So it's like, oh, you cast them to play this one kind of role, and it's not like people have different even within the skill of acting. People have like different skills within acting, but like Julie's just like it's like I can just write anything. I know she's gonna get it. Some people have to talk through them. They never get it. They can't quite remember their lines. Julie's just like instantly has the entire script memorized. Just like knows how to do it, how to make it funny, how to make it interesting, and
that's have your goals changed, Julie? So like you got into it as a hobby. I'm assuming the goals have changed since then, since it's become what it is now. Like what's the aim for the acting thing or like the producing thing in general now? Like where are you hoping to end up with this?
You know, honestly, guys, I don't know. Like I'm still to me, it's still I really enjoy it. It's still a hobby to me. It would be nice because we do put so much work and so much effort into our projects, it would be nice if it eventually becomes quite lucrative. I mean, that would be wonderful to be, to do something that I love and, make really good money at it. But yeah, right now I'm just kind of going with the flow. I don't have any big goals. I just kind of want to keep creating.
And you still
It's
work
something
as a physical trainer too, right?
I am. I have a couple of jobs actually. I'm still working as a personal fitness trainer. I have two kids, which is a full-time job,
Yeah, God.
and I work in surgical processing at the Sturgeon Hospital. So I've got a lot going on.
What
And
is
then my kids have
surgical
their sports.
processing?
Surgical processing, there's a lot to it, but in a nutshell, I work on the tools. I don't work with patients. I work on the tools that cut patients open. So I work on assembling and sterilizing surgical instrumentation, repairing, that kind of stuff.
Okay, I was just imagining you were sharpening a scalpel.
So
I
if
do. I
we
work on Grey's Anatomy actually when I'm at work sometimes.
so if we need some props for like Grotesque 3 or something, you're the one talking.
I'll steal them.
Just medical props start missing.
So
Where's the bone saw? He's a leg amputated.
so we all three of us worked on Dumbbells, which was Julie's creation. Why don't you like tell us about that?
Dumbbells. Oh, that feels like it was so long ago. So Dumbbells was a pilot episode. So we filmed the pilot episode, although I had the entire season in my brain. That started, so Paul Plakis is kind of like a celebrity fitness trainer here in Edmonton. He had his own show called X Weighted many years ago. And he worked with my husband at Custom Fit for many years. And so when I first started like producing projects, he actually approached me because he had some television experience. And he said, "Hey, like I wrote this script many years ago and it never really came to fruition. I was wondering if like you could have a look at it." So I read the script and I loved the concept. It was basically just about like gym culture. So like this small sort of fitness training center where there's like a handful of trainers and how they interact with their clients and with each other and stuff. So I love the concept, but the dialogue was quite dated. It was a little sexist, not gonna lie. And like the comedy and like the references were, from like 15 years ago or whatever. So I took the concept and I totally rewrote the entire script. And yeah, we went from there. So we filmed it at Custom Fit, which is my husband's private gym. And yeah, so as a personal fitness trainer, I kind of developed the characters around fitness trainers that I had actually worked with in real life and with clients that I had, either I had worked with or my husband had worked with or, colleagues of ours had worked with. So that was really fun. Who was in that? We had, so Alex Gallant. I don't remember anybody's script names, but Alex Gallant basically played Paul Plakis. So he played this kind of like macho, cocky, egotistical trainer who like works his clients really hard, but like not for their benefit, but because he wants them to be like his walking resume. So that was Alex. And then Craig Hamlock, who's actually a real life trainer, who is part owner of Custom Fit, who literally played himself. He played Craig. That was his name in the script. So he really didn't have to do much acting. We called him the patriarch. So he was the trainer who kind of, really loved his job, wanted the best for his clients, was really genuine, very knowledgeable, was kind of like the father to everybody in the gym, like everything's going to be okay. And then Faisal, what was your name? I forget.
Hey. Oh, Kyle, Steve, no,
No, whatever it was, you played the drama queen.
Yep.
And you did it so well. So
Do you remember when I first showed up on set? We had a drama queen moment because like I was wearing an orange hoodie and you like were wearing an orange hoodie and you were like, "Are you gonna wear that?" I was like, "No, no, I have other shirts."
we were literally wearing the same outfit.
I'm pretty much like black shorts, orange hoodie.
Yeah, I mean I looked better in it, but
I,
so you played the drama queen. You played a gay man who was just always gossiping. Yeah, and that's a real person that I've worked with.
I was gonna
And
say, I think I heard someone on set say like some of the dialogue that I was saying was something that someone had
oh,
actually said.
Yes.
And like I was trying to remember what exactly the dialogue was, but I was like, no.
Yes. Yes. It's wild. The people you encounter in the fitness industry is just
Man,
so fun.
yeah, there's a lot of like, it's a weird mix of people because I used to like when the World Health downtown used to be open, I used to hang around with the fitness trainers there a lot, and like there's a interesting group mix of people. There's like people who are like, I just got out of jail and rehab yesterday, and I figured fitness is where I'm gonna go. And then there's like, I've been studying fitness since I was 16.
Yeah. Yeah, and the clients you work with too are just I had Elizabeth Chamberlain played Babs, and she's based on a real person, so we called her the motivator. She's that trainer who's just like constantly like up in your grill, like checking in on you, all about accountability. But she's got her own demons, like she's got like eating disorders because she wants to look a certain way. She's like weighing her food and stuff, and that's based on a real person that we know. I got the funnest role, I think. I got to cast myself in the funnest role. I played the bully. um, yeah, just a total bitch to my clients. Actually, no, I wasn't a bitch to my clients. My client was played by Tyler Duffy, and I like full on sexually harassed him. And so in the original script that was written 15 years ago, it was a male doing this to a female, and I was like, that just switch the narrative here a little bit. And Tyler was such a trooper. Like he was all for it. I mean, I was feeling him up. It was
Oh my
ridiculous.
God, you were finding like new ways to do it every time Brandon yelled cut. He was like, let me try this way now.
The funny thing about that was because remember there was a part where remember you were laying on the ground and then he was doing like push-ups on top of you. And then when it came time, I'm like, okay, we got to get a shot looking up at him doing that. So all of a sudden the camera guy's like, I have to lay down underneath Tyler Duffy while he does push-ups on me.
Not just push-ups, like very like, shirtless, sweaty, and like sexual grunting.
Thrusting push-ups.
That was Sam Reed. I think I have a picture of that. Oh my God, I should
Oh
post
my
that.
God, that was Sam Reed. I was trying to remember who the camera guy was.
It was
That
so
gym was
funny.
already, I think I said last episode, that gym was already like so hot because like the doors, we had to keep the doors closed and people were working out in the gym, so it was just getting like sweaty and hot.
Yeah, and the people were quite. I mean, like we had Lee Lopez doing pull-ups with his shirt off,
Oh
and I
my
mean, if
God.
you see Lee Lopez with his shirt off, let me tell you, yeah, it was a hot set for sure. I pitched that pilot to CBC to no avail. I think it might have been a little bit too racy. Um, but yeah, I mean, like it's kind of it's annoying, like the amount of like pitching we do and like the amount of like grant proposals we write, and you just keep getting rejected. But one thing I find about Brandon and I specifically is like, we keep getting these rejections, but we make shit anyway. We're like, hey, well, you know what? We're going to do it anyway. We're going to make it happen. And I feel so bad for some, indie filmmakers because they have such great ideas and so much talent, but they can't make their passion projects because they don't have the money for it. And I mean, neither do we. We do
Or the
crowdfunding.
skills. Yeah, lack of money and like the lack of skills to put it together. Like you guys have those like skills that you've trained quite a bit actually.
Yeah, but I mean, you see, no matter what, no matter how skilled you are, you still need money to
Yeah,
make
that's fair.
indie films. And so, like, we do what we can. But I mean, everything we've done, we're working on a micro budget or a non-existent budget, but we still make it happen. So I'm having to reach out to like friends, right? And be like, people who don't even know anything about film, be like, come be in my movie. Like, I need you in my movie to make this happen. And they always show up for me every single time. And what's nice is now we just have this like flourishing independent film community because all these people who never would have thought about being in film now have a taste of it and have experienced it. And now that's growing and growing. And I see my friends kind of jumping in on other people's projects. And so now other people's projects are being made because more people are doing it. And yeah, like
Oh
it
yeah.
sucks. I wish, and you know what? Like, even though we make these things for like, itty bitty budgets, are our projects perfect? Are they Hollywood quality? No, they're not, of course, but they are really good for what resources we have. So if you imagine what we could make with like, $500,000 budget, not even $100,000, like what we could make, like it'd be
Do you
extraordinary.
know, I don't know if I said this last episode, but like I've always said, like I picked up a bit, like I think I was watching a documentary or something, but I picked up a thing a while back, like when a scene is happening, people in the scene don't always sit and say, "Oh, this is happening here." Like when the punk rock scene was first developing, people weren't standing around being like, "Well, we're in the punk rock scene." They were just making the thing, and I feel like like where we are in Edmonton right now, I feel like 20, 30 years in the future, people look back at this specific moment in time and they're gonna see a scene that's collected because there's so many people like you said, I think and we mentioned this last podcast for sure, like I was making a movie at the time, Give and Take in 2018. Brandon, you were starting to make film, and like I think there was maybe film happening before then, but like I'd never really heard of it, and now it's an
Yeah,
entity. Edmonton Film is a thing that's happening, like a
Totally.
resurgence, re whatever the hell.
kind of makes you
Yeah.
wonder, like, what would, like, say, like me, Jarvis, Preston, like, so what if we all just quit and got different jobs? Like, would there
Yeah,
even be
exactly. Like, what if
residency
you guys
anymore?
had not been there? Like, the pillars of what it is now would not have been there, or
Yeah,
it
because
would be
there's like
very
there's the
different, basically.
mainstays, and then there's other people that kind of do little things, but it just seems like it's kind of like we're all like if we as individuals start doing more, it encourages everyone else to do more because
Everybody
everyone
kind of
sees it as
picks
a
it up a little bit.
possibility. They start meeting people, and then all of a sudden, people on the Grotesque set start talking, and they're like, "Hey, we should do a movie together." So they go off and do their own thing and bring some of that crew. And next thing you know, it's like people that never you would think are doing a movie are now writing their own thing, producing their own thing. So it kind of encourages everyone. So it's like I hope it kind of continues because it's good just to
Yeah.
creates more opportunities for people.
And I love seeing it. I love seeing all these like short films popping up with these like, brand new artists. And yeah, just yeah, it's great to see. I love supporting it and helping in any way I can. Um, yeah, hopefully it keeps going in this direction. That'd be
Yeah, it's cool. You know, like Spencer Richard, he's just some guy that used to
yeah.
work with my mom years ago, and I met him, and he came to the Hotbox premiere. All of a sudden, he just had his movie, and then
Well, it's
Glenn Ryder, remember he came out for Grotesque 2 to do like behind the scenes camera work.
Mhm.
Also now he's directing his first movie. I think it's called Autotheist or something like that.
And
So
Steve
it's
also
Page is putting out a ton of stuff right now,
yeah,
which is
he
great.
is.
Yeah.
It's it's that thing when the yeah, when the Velvet Underground put out their first album, I think it was like 1,000 people bought it. So there wasn't that many people that bought it, but everybody that bought that album started a band that then went on to do the thing. And it's kind of like
yeah,
that, where like everybody who's worked on it is like, shit, I guess I could do that. And then they go on to like make a short film or make a
Yeah.
thing, and like it just elevates it more.
It's very cool.
Did you guys get to see Dance with the Devil? I didn't get a chance to come out and watch it, but like I've been anticipating it. The promo looked like it looked wild.
I was so upset. I had every intention to go out because it's not just Spencer. Like there's so many people, our people that were
Everybody,
involved.
yeah.
I had every intention to go out and then I got booked last minute at the hospital.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a night shift, so I couldn't make it out. He's doing another one in Edson, and I'm tempted to drive out there to support him
hmm.
because he's just so wonderful and he's so talented. And I love watching Elena act, and apparently she just crushed. So yeah,
We could
I'm
plan a road trip
really
to Edson. I would also be
yeah.
down because yeah, I had every intention and just like I couldn't get out there. But like I again, the promos I saw, he's the first person I think I've consciously ever seen shoot a promo video for an upcoming film that he shot with Jarvis and with Elizabeth. And like it's again, it's an idea that's so obvious, but he's the first person to have done that I see within our little scene do it. And it's just like that evolution, like we got the filmmaking down, now we got to get the marketing down, and then we just keep evolving
Yeah,
upward.
Spencer. Like I went to the premiere, and yeah, it was great. It was very good for a first movie. But he's good because he had his film. It was like it's kind of halfway between a short and a feature. It was like 45 minutes. So he had that, and then you had like the promo video. They also made like music video they had, and then you also had like a 15-minute behind the scenes. So those are things like it took me kind of like a lot of time to be like, hey, by the way, we should probably be doing this other stuff. Where he just seems to have that in his mind, where he's like, we got the movie, but let's have all this other material to show along with it to promote it. Where so many
Mhm.
people don't even with us, sometimes we get so busy we kind of forget about those other things. Like, hey, we should be doing other stuff. Even Spencer came out on Grotesque 2 to do behind the scenes video for us. So
Hey,
so yeah, it's good. I think he's going to be. Even him and I are talking about doing a project coming up. I think actually I'd probably talked to both of you about it. I haven't really announced it to anyone yet, but want to do something since Mr. Brody may or may not happen this summer. I want to do something smaller that we could like definitely do no matter how much money we have. Um, so hopefully Spencer will kind of come on board as that in some respect, and then we can make something cool.
Yeah, this is again, I just love the fact that like we basically, and like it's not even like a, oh, he's over there and I'm over here. It's like, well, we both made a thing. Let's come and make the thing. Or like when Jarvis moved the premiere for marking so that everybody who was involved could see both
Yeah.
of those things. It's like
That
it's
made
one of
that
those things
really
that,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, well, it's just one of those things that like it's just cohesion of a scene that like again, I'm excited to see what happens in the next 10 years, 15 years. Like I'm excited to see what stars emerge because there are gonna be stars that emerge from our little scene. It's a
Oh, I mean,
statistical
Elizabeth
like
Chamberlain is already there. She is
I've
on top
always
of the
said.
world.
I've told people, like anybody that'll listen to me on a set, I've always said if there's one person that's going to be like a star out of us, it's going to be Elizabeth because she
Absolutely.
has every like part of it.
Yeah,
And
that's
she's
why I've
just
been
got
like, I'm just gonna
so
put Elizabeth in everything I do as much as possible because one day she says she's not going to, but like one day she's gonna be too big. So I'm like, right
Yeah,
Yeah.
now
that's
I'm
what
gonna make sure
everybody
she's
who's
in
like too
everything.
big says. It's like, no, it's never going to be me. And then they're accepting the Oscar. And it's like, I never thought it could be me.
Do you know what? I think if Elizabeth ever gets an Oscar, Faisal, I bet you she won't forget my name. She'll thank
I'd like
me.
to thank, I'd like to thank a lot of people if I could remember their names.
What's the blonde girl's name again? She was in Hot Box. Yeah.
Oh,
If you're watching this, Elizabeth, I know you won't forget me.
So Julie, we are getting dangerously close to finishing Grotesque. We're kind of on that home stretch where we're a few days away from kind of, setting a premiere date and booking the theater. There's just a few things, and of course, I just knew like it's kind of that balance because things can still go wrong. And there's already just been a few sound issues. There's like issues with the color grade, just like little technical things that last thing I want to do is we set a date and then, oh shit, something delays us. But I also don't want to leave it too long. So we have people working hard on the movie. I think, yeah, Faisal, you saw it. You've seen the cut, right? Of
I've seen the pre VFX cut.
Yeah, so I say it's looking pretty good. What do you guys think?
Oh
I'm
my
excited
God.
to see it.
It looks so good already. It kind of like so I've watched it probably 15 times now, I think. And it's similar to Grotesque One. Every time I watch it, I like it more and more.
Yeah.
And I pick up on things that I didn't catch the first time. But yeah, I mean, like you would think that I'm sick of it by now because not only have I seen this final cut 15 times, Brendan, I've been at your house a dozen times, while you're editing and like, cutting this and cutting that and changing this. And so, I mean, like I've seen it all a thousand times and I'm still not sick of it. It is so good. It's better than Grotesque One. Um, Caitlin Varon and her costumes just, really, really increases the production value. It's so colorful. It's so it's a horror. It's a comedy. It's a horror comedy. So it's bloody and, outrageous, but it's also so colorful and so cute and so charming. And like that's really hard to marry those two things. And I think that we did it really beautifully. There's so many funny one-liners. I mean, like, when did we shoot Grotesque One? 2019? 2020.
2020. Yeah.
Pre
2020. Yeah. So I mean, like 4 years later, and like I'm still like me and like all of the other cast members, like we're still quoting the one-liners from Grotesque One. And I can't wait for everybody to see G2. Like it's so much better. There's, so many more extras. We've got so many new and, aesthetically pleasing locations.
You guys pulled off like a logistics impossibility almost, I feel like putting it together, especially the camp scenes and everything. Like I can't imagine how much coordinating because you had, what would you say the top end number would have been like close to 100 people at one point or another, or was it less than that?
It's over 100 cast and crew for sure,
Oh
total.
no, like cast and crew, I think is like 240 or something.
And
But
you
we
were
had
managing
scenes
that
like there
amount
was
of
scenes like at
people.
the church that had like 100 people. At the
Well, you
camp, I don't know,
were
it might have been 75, 100, but yeah, there was a lot of people at
specifically
that
at
camp.
Pigeon at the campgrounds. You were managing that many people. I can't imagine. That must have been a logistical nightmare keeping everybody safe, first of all, and then
Yeah.
like
Well, one thing we did on purpose is, when we were kind of like, revising the script and all that kind of stuff. My character, Veronica, Victoria,
Veronica.
Veronica. Okay.
you're
I'm
doing
sorry.
it to yourself.
I got so many character names. Veronica actually doesn't appear out to the campground. And I did that on purpose because I knew how busy it was going to be out there with that many people. I said, Brandon, I can't produce and like AD and act at the same time with that volume of people. And we only had the camp for, X amount of days. So we had to get it done. So that was kind of done a little bit on purpose, which was great because I love producing and I love ADing when I'm not acting. But when I'm doing it together, I am like a banshee. Like, ask Brandon, I could kill somebody. Like, I
No,
get
well,
so frustrated.
they don't fit because like if you want to be an actor, you're supposed to be as fluid as you can be so you can like get into the moment. But when you're ADing, you got to be like on the mark. Like they're opposite of each other basically.
Absolutely. So that worked out really, really well. And we just had, I was so worried with the volume of people that were out there. And we just had so much fucking fun. Like it was so fun
Wait,
out there.
that was the funnest set I've ever been on, like period.
Oh
Like
my
I've been on
word.
Oh
a,
yeah.
a handful of sets, but that was the most fun I've ever had on like a week-long set.
And like Faisal, like all of these extras drove all the
Oh
way
my
out to
God, yeah.
Italy, right? To just hang out. And I mean, a lot of the time they were just chilling on the
They were
grass
just
because like
staying, like
they,
because they
they
heard
were
it was a good
great.
time.
They were just suntanning, laughing, joking around, and everybody had such a good attitude. Like it was
I was
like a
also
dream.
in the middle of the summer. Honestly, I feel like when I got back, I basically told my friends I went to like adult summer camp for a week, which like you guys made it feel that way, which kudos to you because I can't imagine like it probably didn't feel that way to you guys.
It did, it did. I mean,
Yeah.
I had fun. I mean, there was like a couple of moments where I
Yeah,
got a
there
little
was
bit.
a little bit of stress, but over like it was still like a wonderful experience. Yeah, I'm hoping to well hopefully be doing it again this year and next year if everything goes according to plan. We'll be doing something similar. So, and you're all invited.
Hey, listen, I will come out anytime you're like we're shooting a movie like on a campground for a week, I'll come out. I will pay you to be there.
Aw. Brandon,
Okay.
write that down quick.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn it, they got it on
we have it.
video.
We have this on video. It's legally binding.
Well, okay, so I have two questions. One that's going to take us away from our current topic, and I guess one that stays on our current topic. I think we discussed this last podcast, but I just wanted to like revisit like now that you guys are working to getting a movie to like release it, like basically you're in the last stretch of a movie, like what are the things that you guys have to like stay on top of, or what do you have to like keep checking in on to make sure that it comes out and then like what's the avenues? Are you guys planning a release at the Metro? Are you guys planning like a wider release of some kind, an internet release?
Yeah, I'll give my thoughts on it, and then Julie can give hers. For the last two movies, like for Hotbox and Grotesque, like our last two big movies, we've done two screenings each, and they've been fairly well attended. But there's been issues with people's schedules and everything, and some people don't get to go. And there's always people too that hear the word of mouth, they hear people talk about it, they want to go, and then all of a sudden it's like no opportunities to watch in the theater. So I would love to do more shows as long as we can get enough people coming so that we can at least, break even or make a small profit. We may as well do a few more rather than just doing the two and then kind of just leaving it there. If people still want to go, I mean, there's probably going to be people especially people involved in it, that will want to see it every time, and they might be other family and friends they want to bring to it, but they're not available for whatever reason. So I would love to just kind of have a couple shows, build a bit of hype, and get more people watching it. And then, it's kind of, I'm sure every indie filmmaker like us is in the same boat, is that, releasing it on streaming is easy and it's convenient for the viewer. It pays so shitty, like a penny or less per view. So it's kind of like, instead of just going immediately to streaming, I'm thinking of just we'll sell DVDs, we'll do other things that we can that people will be excited about and that has a better chance of kind of making us money. Because like on some platforms, it's between like 1 in 10,000 views for us to make the same profit as one DVD. So it's like, like we should try to kind of milk that a little bit too, right? Because we have to. It's not like we're being greedy. I mean, we're not Hollywood trying to make. We're not making millions.
No, but
So
I mean, at that point, you might as well like just release it on YouTube so you have people coming to your YouTube channel rather
yeah,
than to the streaming channel. Like,
exactly. So
yeah.
yeah, so I think we should. Yeah, we'll have some. premium. We'll have some like movie theater screenings. Then we'll sell it on DVD. I'm even working with some people now. We're trying to set up kind of just like our own streaming service, kind of like a pay-per-view where, like say a month or so after it's released, pay $5, you get to watch it before
I
everyone.
love that idea. That's a brilliant idea, actually.
And because
Yeah,
I'm
and
doing
when
that,
Brandon says, sorry, when Brandon says like, oh, like, streaming doesn't make any money, we're not, no money's coming in, we're not making anything. The money that we make, that we do make from these projects, we immediately funnel that profit into our next project.
I
yeah,
mean, that's
yeah.
like, what else are you gonna do with it? Are you gonna like it's not enough to like ball out on or anything. You just
Yeah.
like fund it.
I would love to just split it up. It's like, all right, Julie, here's some for you. You can buy a new house. Here's some for me. Then some left over to make a movie. But even now, it's like, the money trickles in. Anyway, it's coming. And honestly, like Grotesque is pretty popular, and I'm Haunted for whatever reason is even more popular. So there is money trickling in. So it's kind of like, oh, we got another $150. That's enough to do a movie poster for the next movie. And then it's just like, well, here's another $300. It's like, okay, well, that's enough to,
Like do a run of DVDs or something.
yeah, it's just, so it's kind of all, but I'm thinking like, because I really, really, really want to do Mr. Brody this summer because it's shaping up to be awesome. So I'm thinking, okay, with all the money we make from the premieres, if we do a bunch, that'll add up to something. And then we'll have the money coming in from the current movies, that'll go into something. We'll have the DVD sales. We'll do a bit of crowdfunding. We have some people that are already willing to kind of, angel investors kick in some. It's like it's seeming like it might be possible. Like I think it could be done. I mean, it's not at the point yet where I can commit to it. But once we have that movie done, and then when it comes time for Grotesque 3, we're gonna have like all these more projects that are kind of generating income in their various ways. And then because Grotesque 3 is gonna be another big one, right? That we're is gonna take a lot of work. So yeah, so that's kind of my
Honestly,
current plan.
the pay-per-view, the more I think about it, and like it's not a new idea, but the more I think about it, that's a brilliant idea to do as like self-releasing a movie because you always have like the one, two, six group straggler that like didn't see it at the premieres, but they still want to see it, and that's now you
Yeah,
have
a
an
lot of
option.
people want
Pay
to
the five
support us
dollars.
too, right? Like
Yeah.
instead
Mhm.
of
And I think
like go
the
ahead.
DVD option is great too, because I mean, like I know that some of these actors that are in our movies, this is their first project, so I know that their friends and families they want to have like a tangible, you know, piece
Physical
of.
media.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
we've had like mothers of cast members in Grotesque and Hotbox that have bought like shit tons of DVDs, like multiple actors. It's not just like one. It's happened.
Yeah.
They're like, "Hey, I'm so and so's mom, and we wanted to, for his grandparents and aunts and uncles. So can we buy like 10 DVDs?" And so it's like, all
Mm.
right, so I'll, $20 a piece. I'll put them in the mail, and everyone's all happy. And some of them have even come back like later, like next Christmas or whatever. It's like we get a few more, so like they
Yeah.
are
Even the
popular items.
posters. Yeah, posters. Like I know Jamie Clark, our makeup artist, her mom got a poster from us and had it framed for Jamie because it was her first like major feature film.
Yeah.
And yeah, people are just they're so supportive, they're so proud of their family members. And yeah, I don't think we're gonna have any trouble filling a theater twice again this time, especially with the sheer number of cast and crew we had.
Yeah.
Um yeah.
And I
Well,
feel
that's the
like
thing. Yeah,
like
we were at like you're talking about Spencer Richard. He had his premiere for Dance with the Devil at the Capitol Theater at Fort Edmonton Park. It's a super nice theater, and we were kind of there early, so we were talking with the people that work there. We're like how many people does this fit? And I think he was like, it was 243 seats, and I'm like, that's like fewer than people that have worked on Grotesque 2. So even if only cast and crew came out, there's not even enough room for them. So it's
they'll
like
just stuff it all
we need the
out.
Garneau is because it holds like 550. Yeah, I would love to just see that theater packed. We kind of got screwed on Grotesque because it was during the middle of COVID, so they had like
Hmm.
a limit on it where only you could only have like so many people because they had to have like every third seat open or whatever stupid rule it was. So I
But
would love to
they
just
were
have that
packed like even for those premieres. Like I think did you have three showings for Grotesque?
too.
Two?
Too, yeah.
Yeah, and you packed both of those out. Like It's got to be something quite like it's got to be really cool to like see all these people that came to like you made a thing out of nothing, out of literally the stuff in your head, and then like it's on the screen and there's these like at least 200 people here sitting watching it.
Yeah,
Like
and it's not, I mean,
laughing
like
at
not just this, in the theater. I mean, that although that was like phenomenal, and that was a great feeling to hear everybody just like laughing and applauding and being proud of what they were a part of. But you know, we've gone from just like making these little shorts to like Brandon and I and Elizabeth being on like, national television promoting these projects, which is really
I remember
exciting.
you guys were on morning TV for promoting Hotbox, and I like that was the coolest. Honestly, to me at that point, it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. It was like
I
the
was so
first.
nervous.
Oh man, it was the first time like anything I was even close to had touched the mainstream, and I was just like, wow, I was in that movie.
Yeah, and that was, and so who put that together for us? Gay Andrews, who's been in quite a bit of our films, and she was an executive producer in Hotbox, and her son was in Hotbox, and she plays the angel doctor in Grotesque. Her and her husband George have just been so supportive of our projects, and she actually hooked that up for us, wasn't it, Brandon? It was Gay, right?
Honestly, I can't remember.
I'm
Was that the
almost
first
sure.
time you guys had done an interview of that level? Like,
No,
have you guys done interviews for movies before?
I've done
Not
quite
for
like
me.
for my comic books and other things. Like I did quite a few, but usually it was I reached out to them. Like I'd be like, hey, by the way, I'm doing this thing, and then newspapers would or like the TV news would call me up or whatever. I don't remember the
Mhm.
one that Julie did. I can't remember how that happened, but I remember for Grotesque when Elizabeth and I were on it. I'm pretty sure that was the first time they reached out to us because like I didn't do anything, and all of a sudden there it's like Elizabeth's like, by the way, like global news or whatever, like send me this email. They want us to be on it, and I was like, oh shit. So, um, for the next one, the guy that interviewed us, he's like, yeah, we want to support local films. So anytime you're doing something, let us know. So this time I'm
Mhm.
gonna like reach out to them and like we'll try to get like anyone that's willing to like hear us out. Like we've had I think it was I'm in love with
Radio
a dead
show.
girl. I did a TV interview for I'm in love with a dead girl, and just one guy watching the news sent me a bunch of money to help fund whatever my next project was.
Oh, that's
And
so
so I ended up
cool.
taking him out for coffee, and then he's kind of been with me ever since. And he's donated money to I'm Haunted and other things, and he's acted in little bits. And that was just from like one guy watching one news broadcast. So it also it reaches because like the people that watch morning news is kind of a different crowd than I feel that like watch Grotesque. So we're kind of opening up to this crowd of people that would probably never ever go on YouTube and see our
Got this
posts or
whole new
whatever, right?
market.
So it gets the word out there.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so like to change the subject and like maybe we can keep this short if you'd like, but I was gonna ask you about your fitness journey, Julie, like because I feel like that's something you're like hugely passionate about is like as a physical trainer and like helping people with their fitness. Like how did that start? Was that something that you always wanted to do, or did you also fall into that?
No, that's something I always wanted to do. Well, sort of. I actually went to university in Newfoundland. I was doing my education degree. I was majoring in French, and I had an epiphany. I was in my third and a half year, so I was a semester away from graduating, and then I realized I don't want to be a teacher. I don't really like
That's
kids
the best
that
time to realize that.
much. So I quit and I moved out west, and I just realized I didn't want to be in a classroom. I didn't want to be kind of like confined to a space. I've always been quite athletic. Growing up. So yeah, I just kind of went online, searched programs when I was in Alberta, and I went to NATE, and I ended up doing the personal fitness training program there, which is fantastic, by the way. If anybody is listening and is interested in that, the NATE program is a 2-year program. It's phenomenal. I loved it. The instruction was great. I actually met my husband. He was in my class. So yeah, I've been doing training. That was my full-time job for a long time. And then I got sick. I got, well, I went 10 years undiagnosed, but I'm finally diagnosed now. I have a disease called ankylosing spondylitis. So for about 4 years, I was undiagnosed and I was walking with a cane, and I was in pain constantly, like constantly at a 10 because I wasn't being treated for this disease. I was just given anti-inflammatories, yada, yada, yada. So that's actually why I went into surgical processing, because I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to continue being a trainer full time. I could continue working with the clients that I had, but I couldn't take on any new clients because I didn't feel safe, A, spotting them, but B, demonstrating exercises. My disease, my flares were so unpredictable. But then finally, I switched rheumatologist, and Dr. Schulter here in Edmonton literally saved my life and diagnosed me after I think about 7 MRIs, so many X-rays. It was just torture. And yeah, now I take an injection once a month and I am virtually pain free. So technically speaking, I didn't need to go back to school to do surgical processing, but I'm happy I did because when COVID hit, I still had my hospital job. Whereas fitness, all the gyms are closed.
What made you pick surgical process? Because when I think of like actor and then fitness and surgical processing, that there's no Venn diagram there. Those are circles that are like separate.
Yeah. So and that I kind of did that on purpose because I am very distracted and I get bored easily. So I wanted to have, a career that was very different from what I was doing. But I had to, based on my like physicalities and limitations, I needed to pick a career that wasn't as physical as personal fitness training, but also wasn't a desk job because that's even worse for AS. So I had to find something that was in between, which surgical processing is. Depending on which department I'm in, it could be very physical or I could be sitting. But also something that I was interested in. I've always been interested in medicine and blood and guts, obviously.
Can we clip that? Can we just clip that audio?
That'll be the
Yeah.
trailer for the podcast. Is that little bit right there?
Yeah, but I'm still very passionate about fitness. It was kind of like a depressing time in my life when I couldn't train full time and I couldn't train myself. I ended up gaining weight because of that. I lost my thyroid to cancer, so I started gaining weight because of that. And not just the weight thing, but like I lost a lot of my strength and my endurance. And, I was really hard on myself for a while, but then I realized like I'm kind of over that. I'm like, yeah, like I have these limitations now, but my body has done so much for me. It's given me two of my own children. I carried a third as a surrogate mother. It beat cancer. It's fighting AS every single day. It shows up for me every single day. So yeah.
Awesome. So, I guess Faisal, what's next for you in the film world? What do you got on the horizon?
Oh man, I just funny that we opened up the show and you were talking about how documentaries are like annoying because you have to watch so much footage to get stuff out of it. Me and one of my earliest collaborators, Patrick, I think Patrick Strevens, you know him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We just filmed an event, so I have like 3 hours of footage that I need to watch and condense into like a 15-minute video.
Nice.
That's gonna be fun. I gotta pick the best bits and like clean it up and see how it goes. So like that's gonna be a week of mine. Um,
What was the event?
sorry.
What was the event?
It was a truth and reconciliation event that I believe it was hope change for hope.
Oh, nice.
I'm forgetting a name. This is what I do. I'm forgetting the name of
I
the
get it. You forget
society.
names, yeah.
But like it's like a little like I picked it up and so I'm gonna edit it and I'm gonna like deliver them a video. Other than that, it's pretty quiet for film, unfortunately. Like I want to get a project of my own up and running for like summer. I'm like I have a script and I technically I have two scripts that I could start working on.
Ooh.
I just want to like yeah, I just gotta put the pieces together hopefully and like put it into motion. That's my problem is like
Yeah.
putting the things into motion.
Are these features or what is it?
Do you know what? Well, I mean, if you'll indulge me, I can tell you about it a little bit. The one I'm really excited to, and I keep telling people I'm gonna do this fucking thing. It's a Lego film. Like years ago, like 2019, around then, I read a story in the Daily Beast, I think, or one of those publications. I read a story about a guy who had grown up in the 80s. He was living in New York. He moves to San Francisco and he like comes out as gay in San Francisco and it's the 80s and things are going really well and I think he picks up a boyfriend and then he takes a job like guarding Brinks trucks. And one day he's guarding this Brinks truck and there's like $7 million in it and he just like decides today is my day. So he takes the Brinks truck and he like runs off with the money and like he basically goes from San Francisco to New York and he's like giving out money here and there. When he gets to New York, he then spends the rest of his money making the most expensive gay porno film ever made, ever, in like 1984. But it's like it's ridiculous because it falls apart because everybody's like going crazy and money's just being spent here and there. They misspelled the title. It's supposed to be called Centurions of Rome, but they spelled it Centurians, Tians. So like I read this story and I'm obsessed with this story. Up to this day, I'm still obsessed with like finding out every detail that I can about this. What happened with it. One of the lawyers that prosecuted that thing ended up being Robert Mueller, who was like the guy who prosecuted the Trump stuff when that was happening. Like all these kinds of things keep popping out. And I was like, this has to be a movie. I can adapt this into a movie. It can't be a like a live action movie because that would be far too expensive. But like it would make really good, like if I could put like a Lego like piece together and like put it together in Lego, I feel like that would be the perfect medium to tell that story in.
Like stop
And like
motion
I'm
kind of thing?
obsessed with that time period. Sorry?
Like stop motion kind of?
Yeah, like stop motion. They're called brick films, is what my
Oh,
research is telling me, is like they're specifically like that. So like that's the next thing. It's been fun because like I've been like planning it over like years. I've been trying to like put a script together and put pieces together. I've had to go on Etsy and see if the people make like dollhouse miniature sex toys. They do. I don't know if I'm the sick one for looking that up or if they're the sick one for making it, but one of us has a problem. Um,
Oh man, you had me at 1980s and gay. I'm in.
Honestly, like it's such an insane story. So like I finally have my script. I have my script put together and like I think this summer I'm just gonna go all in on buy. I tried to make it once and I realized I bought 1,000 pieces of Lego. Not nearly enough. Not nearly goddamn enough.
Oh
it
my God,
sounds
thank
like it
God.
would take a long time. If it's a feature, like, won't it take like years to do?
So here's what I've decided because yeah, I kept going through the math and I kept like being like, well, it takes about an hour to get a minute of stop motion footage using Lego if I'm doing it like at 24, like 12 frames per second or something like that. Like that's what it would take. So I kept doing the math of like this is going to be a 40-minute movie, so 40 hour da da da. At this point, I've just decided I'm going to start in the summer and I'm just going to go till infinity. Like if I had started when I had my first script ready, I would have had a quarter of a film by this point. So like I just got to start this summer and then by like next year this time I'll have a quarter of a film that'll be like I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do it. Just do it. Start it.
So like I'm just going to start shooting my first scenes. I'm going to get some more. I'm going to go all in on some more Lego pieces. I'm going to like get some custom bits and then I'm just going to start building my little scenes and like going in on it.
Nice.
It's
We'll see
amazing.
how it
I just
goes.
I just got rid of like 50 giant bins of
Oh,
Lego.
I'll be making a big post about like I need all the Lego. My dream, my dream is to have a movie like premiere or to show at Blue Review. Do you guys just know Blue Review?
Yeah.
No.
It's the local like it's the local dirty movie festival. Every year they show like they have like a film festival here at the Metro, and it's like art dirty movies and then there's regular dirty movies. So like I would love to have a film show in there and I feel like at this moment I have no title for it, but that would be my film that I would like to show there.
I love that. I think you should do that. Speaking of dirty movies, I'll never forget one of like the pinnacle moments in my acting career was when Brandon called me and was like, Julie, guess what? You're never gonna guess. I was like, what? He was like, your threesome scene in Hot Box is on a porn site.
Honestly, that's one of the funniest scenes in Hot Box. Like
Yeah, it was on yeah, I was just Googling stuff about
was
Hotbox
it
and all
really
of a
which
sudden it was
porn
like
site
on a
was it
porn
on?
site. And I was like, I'll tell Julie because I know she'll react well. I'm like, I didn't want to tell Elizabeth because I know how she reacts. I'm like, Julie, you tell Elizabeth and pretend you're the one that
He
found
loved
it. And she loved it. I was kind of offended actually.
it. I loved it. I was so happy.
I have a question. How many views were there on the video? Did it show a view count or anything?
Oh, I
I
don't know, Brandon.
can't
I just want
remember.
to know how many people watched it ironically.
I think like if you
Oh,
look
well,
up
I
like
probably know
Mr.
200.
It's called like Mr. Skin. It's like a pretty famous
Oh
like
yeah, I know
site.
Mr. Skin. Yeah, okay, I know that site.
Yeah,
That's
if you
the
go
site
on
where they
there,
like
it's like
compile like all the nude scenes in all the movies. Like
Yeah.
so
yeah.
the
Which
internet
is
is a
weird
weird place
because
some
like
days.
it's not even a nude. It's not even really a sex scene. There's no nudity. It's like
But
Well,
it's
I
it's
mean,
so
you
kind of
know,
funny to
it's
me
racy
that
in
like
Hotbox
I
world, but
see.
yeah,
that is like two, maybe three people who decided like we need to catalog every nude scene that's ever happened ever, and then like built a website. It's the internet is the weirdest place some
Yeah.
days.
Well, at least we're on their radar now.
They should be paying you a royalty, honestly.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're just well, the three of us were there last Saturday. We're doing a grotesque documentary. I kind of have been watching some other documentaries like Crystal Lake Memories about the Friday the 13th series, and I was like, there should be one about Grotesque. So I think we ended up about 40 people came out. We interviewed, a whole bunch of people involved in the movie about their experience. And it's kind of interesting because for a lot of it, I wasn't in the room for the vast majority. So I had no idea what people are saying. So I've spent the last couple of days going over all the interviews and watching what everyone's saying. And it's, I'd say like 99% overwhelmingly positive. Like everyone's just
How are
talking
you
about how great
liking
it
what
was.
everybody said? Because like I feel like when I walked away after the interview, I was like, God damn it, I could have said more.
Yeah, that's like I figured like 10 minutes, like even when we've been on the news, I think those are like 3-minute segments. And it's kind of like you get a few good sound bites. So I was like, if everyone gets 10 minutes, that should be enough. And also we only had, so many people in limited time. But then it's like, yeah, it's not nearly enough. Like Julie, Elizabeth, and I spoke for like 45 minutes to an hour, and we only kind of got to like scrape the surface. And
Do you know,
everyone
I
else, it's like, yeah, just there was so much more. I almost want to give like every person a whole day, just an 8 hour slot to talk about absolutely everything. Because we even
that's
had
you know,
we had a secondary interview site in a different room. So after people were done, they could go and sit there and talk to their heart's content till the next person showed up.
Gavin.
And that's turned Gavin kind of turned that into a show called Grotesque at Midnight. So I'm honestly thinking of releasing that, like full on putting it on IMDb and
I
put it on
love it.
YouTube of just people sitting in front of that brick wall with a hotbox poster, talking about whatever they whatever they want. And I mean, I told Caitlin like you can go into detail about like every single costume if you want, like all the costume nerds. You could just talk about whatever you want. Gallinger can go on about details about sound recording that will only appeal to like sound people. But it's like here's your chance to talk, and we had I think like a lot of people ended up doing that. So it's kind of good that people just have a lot of memories that they want to talk about.
Well, I heard Ken Burns once say like to make syrup, you got to collect like 40 gallons of sap for like 1 gallon of syrup. And like that's kind of
Yeah,
how I always approach documentaries is like we can't have too much footage. Like we need to constantly be rolling and like get everything because like
yeah. Even like
cutting it down
Spencer
is
of
gonna be
Grotesque
hard.
too. Spencer Richard came out for 2 days and filmed all that stuff, and he sent me these files. There's like hundreds of them, and then once he started going through it, then he realized like it doesn't add up to as much as he wished it did. It's like we needed
No,
we needed like way more.
once
We
you
needed like
distill it
three
down,
cameramen on every set, and yeah, it's interesting because we asked a lot of people like, give us your thoughts on your character, and some of these, like honestly, I wrote the thing and I'd never put that much thought into their character. So we had people kind of talking about like, it's like, what's the history of your character? And they're like, well, and they would explain the stuff. I'm like, oh, it's news to me, but it actually sounds pretty interesting. Yeah, I showed Julie Tom Anthony who plays Dr. Wash. It's like what was Dr. Wash's history? And he's like, Dr. Wash is the guy that went to med school and graduated dead last. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much sums him up.
yep, it's part of his canon now. That's when you're gonna have the prequel Dr. Walsh MD. I was just gonna ask Julie what's on her screen lately. Like, what
Oh,
movies
okay.
is she
Yeah.
watching?
What movies am I watching? Oh my God, I don't have time for movies.
No?
Right now for shows, I am watching, and it's taking me forever because I can only watch about 20 minutes per day. I'm actually watching Narcos.
Are you? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm on season 3. So the Cali cartel.
Ooh, the
So
violent
yeah,
times.
yeah. And I find like no matter what I'm watching, like it always kind of like rubs. Does that happen to you? Like, does it kind of like rub off on you a little bit? So like sometimes like So right now I'm watching Narcos. So like if I'm driving, I'll like put on my like aviators and listen to like gangster rap.
Honestly, every time I watch Scarface, every time there's a week where like I'm just like living Scarface, and then it's just like, all right, now I got come to like don't be.
Like now I gotta stop. I gotta stop doing all this cocaine. This is not good for me.
I gotta chill. My nose is hurting.
Yeah, no, that's all I'm watching now. I don't even remember the last movie I watched. Grotesque too.
Yeah. And before
15
that was
times.
Like,
Grotesque
yeah, I guess
again.
after watching that movie like 15 times, you just don't want to see another movie ever.
Yeah. What are you watching?
Grotesque. Oh, what am I watching? You know what? I was digging the what's it called? Poor Things. I still haven't gotten over Poor Things. That's a
I
good
haven't seen it yet.
man.
I
You know what?
love that
Honestly, when I
film.
saw that, I thought of you. Like, there's a couple of people I thought of, but like I also thought of you just because of like Emma Stone's character and like
You know what? Somebody once told me that I reminded them of her. I think it's her giant
I.
eyeball.
You know what? I think it's just the whole vibe. Like I can see that.
I will take that as a compliment. Thank you.
But like that movie floored the hell out of me. Like I don't think I've seen a movie since then where I've been like, ooh, nice.
Yeah, I love a good sexual awakening film.
It's a book. I got the book. I'm gonna sit down and like read the book eventually. Like I got it.
I need to see it. I've heard so many good things about it.
It's really, really good.
I haven't seen the Barbie movie. Can you believe that?
Holy
You
cow.
know, it was okay. It was good, but it wasn't like great. Like
Yeah.
it was a good like Greta Gerwig, Noah Baumbach movie.
But
That's all.
I'm a sucker for like that kind of set decking color. I
Yeah,
love
it
it.
had some
Yeah, that
really
was the
good
best
set
thing about
decking.
it. Is it just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
Does making movies ruin movies for you guys? Because it's ruined movie for me a little bit. Where like now I'm always looking at like set deck, or I'm like every time there's a meal on screen. I bet now it's all like plastic clay meals, so nobody's actually eating it. But before I'd be like, do they eat that fry? How many fries they eat? What happened to that food after?
The first time I
It's
was ever an extra on an actual TV show was on it was season 13 of Heartland, and I was in the diner on Heartland, and they put these real fluffy, delicious smelling pancakes in front of me, and I had never extra before, so they rolling or whatever action. So I'm there, I'm eating my pancakes. I didn't. I'm drinking the juice, so every scene pancakes are like less and less. My juice is up and down in the scene. Oh my god.
you were just
That's
driving some editor
hilarious.
crazy later because they were like the pancakes.
This extra. Get her out of here. Yeah. They were
I always
delicious.
notice things like, especially when it comes to writing, I just kind of notice like, yeah, I know what the guy was thinking or the person was thinking there. I know what he's thinking there. And there's times of where it'll cut to like a different actor or whatever, and then there will be a line of dialogue that's off camera, and I'm like, they added that in later because those two parts didn't make sense, so they're like, we have to add this line in, but they didn't record it with the actor, so they ADR'd it, and so I just kind of know like I see those things sometimes, but it takes
That's
me out of
reality
it. So
TV for
whenever
me.
I try to ignore it because I just want to watch it as a fan, and not pay attention to like how movies are made because it does kind of ruin it. And I find for the most
No,
part I can just watch it for fun. In some movies, if I watch it like several times, I'll start analyzing it more. And movies like The Godfather or Heat that I really like, then I'll start like I'll pay attention to like every second, every shot, and I'll kind of analyze it to death. But on first viewing, I just want to be normal and watch it.
honestly, that's making a documentary like made like I don't know if it ruined reality TV or made reality TV better, but I can tell when it's a constructed sentence now. I can be like, wait a minute, they put those words together from completely random sources. Because like
Yeah.
you'll hear it, the drop in the audio sometimes. It's like, oh, they constructed that.
I guess we'll end the show there. Thanks for being on the show, Julie.
No problemo anytime.
Thank you, Julie. I promise now I will never forget your name.
Yeah, I know you won't. I'll make sure of it. This was fun. I was chatting with you guys.
So that was a great interview we had with Julie. She's my main co-producer and she's awesome in every way. So I mean, I wish we could have talked more. Like we had so many things to discuss. Like it just seemed like we kind of brushed the surface,
We could have got on for a long time.
I'm sure she'll be back on the show eventually. So Faisal and I, we've decided to, as part of the show, we're going to do a segment at the end of the show where we give our thoughts on something, whether it's a movie, like an album, a band, something or
I think
other.
we should call it Thoughts on a Thing.
Thoughts on a thing. I love it. Um, we're kind of making the show up as we go along, if you haven't noticed. Um, so we've decided for this show we're going to do the movie Heat. It's a 1995 crime thriller starring Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, directed by one of my favorite directors, Michael Mann. And yeah, I love the movie. So Basil, you just watched it recently. What do you think?
All right, I love the movie. The movie is really good. I love the performances. Performances are top notch. Like everybody is like doing 100% on this. I didn't like the soundtrack. I'm gonna say that much. Like I feel like the soundtrack was too much like 90s rock and like I kind of like I think when I was watching it I was like, man, I wish there was like a Trent Reznor like ambient soundtrack for this thing where it's just like but like you know
It's an
what I
interesting observation. And while I don't really agree, but I can kind of see your point. But Michael Mann does have that. Like, you ever watch his movie Manhunter, which is kind of like the first kind of
the
electric.
first Silence of the Lambs, right?
It's a great movie, but oh my God, the soundtrack is so annoyingly 1985 that it's almost distracting. And I've he kind of maybe he just has a thing he has where it's like it's going to turn into like every movie, it's going to eventually turn into a period piece as decades go by. So we're going to have this. He doesn't want it to be timeless. He wants this to be like at this
A
point in time,
snapshot of the time.
snapshot, and music's going to reflect that. It never annoyed me. I have to go watch it again and think of it just in the music. But whatever it wasn't enough to distract me from it. But that is an observation. Honestly, I've never heard anyone say that before.
Fair enough. I think it's specifically like towards the end scenes where everything's going crazy and like there's just like heavy guitar music going on. I'm like, I like it, but I'm also like, you could raise the tension by not having the heavy guitar music. But then this is just like sensibilities from like, what is it, 1995? So like 30 years down the road. So like obviously like
I'll have to go
hindsight
back
is
and
like
watch it.
2020.
Like
Do you know
it's
what I really liked is the scene where they have the big giant shootout in the middle of LA and like I think I mentioned this to a friend I was watching it with. Like in this movie specifically, like guns mean something. Like nobody's getting up after they get shot by a bullet. Like they're all going down. Whereas in like in other more conventional action movies, like you know, you can take 7 bullets and then you can like still like fire off a shot or two.
yeah,
Um,
it's real. I've even read somewhere that like they show that movie. I don't know if it's like in the military or police training or something. They show that as an example of the proper way to like retreat or like some. I know I'm not a military guy, but you know to reload just the way they reload their guns and everything. And it was
that I mean, it
all that
makes
movie,
sense.
all the movie. Like none of it was done on a sound stage. It was all on location, all
So
real
did they shut
guns.
down like downtown LA or like that big
Yeah,
giant road in LA to shoot that scene? Because I can't imagine how much they must have had to like separate everything.
yeah, and it wasn't like there was no you know, fake guns with CGI like
No, no, no.
effects. It was like all real, and it was, and even just the sound. Like if you listen to that with like headphones on,
I was listening to it and like just the speakers, like I was just like, this is loud and like there's no backing music. It's just like shots and like screaming.
yeah, I
Uh,
think that's like it's probably one of the best like shootout scenes in any movie
I
ever.
would agree. I
It's
think
so
Tom
well
Sizemore
made.
stood out in terms of performance. I really like Tom Sizemore, even though he's not in it for like a lot of it. Like I liked his character and I liked like the craziness he had in his character.
Yeah, like the characters are so good, and it's kind of weird the way it works too, because it's like you got the bad guys and you got the good guys, and they are kind of very similar. And you know, they have the famous scene where Al Pacino, who's like the head cop, and Robert De Niro, who's the head bad guy, they sit down for coffee, and it's kind of like they have the same job. It's just they're on the flip side of it. One guy's the bad guy, one guy's the cop, and it's kind of like it's nothing personal between them, but they even say it's like, look,
You
we
play
see each
your
other
role, I
face
play
to face,
mine.
but it's like I'm a cop. It's like if it comes down to it, I'm gonna have to shoot you. And the other guy's like, yeah, I get it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna go to jail, so I'm gonna have to shoot you. You know, he's like, I'm not gonna like it, you know. So it's like no hard feelings, but we kind of know what side of the fence we're on. But another interesting layer of it is that if you look at the way that their groups work, it's like Robert De Niro, like Neil's character, him and his like crew of like robbers, they're very tight. Like they're good friends. Like they even he's having his buddy's having a problem with his wife. He goes and tries to
And
settle it.
helps him out.
So they're like really good friends. Whereas Al Pacino, the cop, they're just work colleagues, right? And you can tell like the you know Bosco, the other dude, is like a good friend. Like they go for lunch and stuff, but they're really just work colleagues. They're not as tight as
Yeah.
Robert De Niro because Robert De Niro's crew they have higher stakes. And one of
Well,
the other
again, like
guys,
Tom Sizemore is like, if you're in, I'm in. Like he's
yeah,
basically devoted to Robert De Niro.
yeah, they're just like they're way closer friend. Where the other guys are like, this is our job. Like, if I don't work for the police anymore, like I'm not gonna go after. Like I'm gonna do something else. Like I'm not gonna put my
Yeah.
life on the line. Whereas the other guys are like they put their life on the line for them. Um and what's the guy's name? Like Angelina Jolie's dad,
John Voight, man.
John Boyd. Yeah,
I
he's
like
like
that they let him show up in just whatever he was wearing and just go on screen.
yeah, he's just yeah, I know he's kind of like their mentor kind of guy. But he even says to Robert De Niro, he's like Al Pacino, like the cop. It's like he can hit and miss. Like if he
Yep.
doesn't bust you, whatever, he goes to work the next day. If you miss, like you're either going to get killed or go to prison for a long time. So the kind of the stakes are different, but it's just kind of weird how they even have a scene where like the bad guys they go for dinner with their wives and stuff, and you kind of see
Mhm.
them what they do when they're just being normal, and then you see the cops they all go for dinner with their. So it's kind of like a lot of movies are
There's
like yeah
parallels.
the bad guys. The bad guys are evil, or it's like not necessarily like they're it's like they still go out and they got family stuff to deal with too. And even Tom Sizemore, like he's basically like a psycho killer, but
But he's
he's
got
got
a
a
wife,
wife, he's got a
girlfriend.
kid, he's trying to like, he's trying to live his life too. And he's other than being a horrible murderer, like he's not necessarily a bad guy. Whereas Al Pacino, he's the good guy. He's trying to stop them, but he's kind of an
He's kind of a
asshole.
dick.
Yeah. So it's like, he just like ignores his wife and, just has all this strife in his life. And then, his stepdaughter tries to kill herself and he's just not present. And so it's kind of like, it just kind of blurs that line of like who's good and who's bad.
And talk about casting too. I feel like every 90s actor is in that movie. Like I would be so interested to find out who was in the background of those like shootout scenes and stuff. Because I bet you like some huge stars were in the back of those scenes at that moment.
Yeah. Even like I do it with like a lot of movies. I'll go on IMDb and I'll just start clicking on every character and I'll be like, oh, that guy was the guy from this other movie.
Oh, I
Oh,
do that too. You do that too.
and it's just like, yeah, then you kind of like some of them are unrecognizable, but yeah, like um oh crap, who's the guy that played the blonde hair guy? Chris the hairless, the character.
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer, like he kind of was hit and miss over his career, but this is kind of like I think this is the movie where like everyone peaked.
Do you know
It's
what?
kind
I
of like
realized over the course of this movie that Val Kilmer is my guy. I've loved every movie I've ever seen him in. Like this was new information to me, but I was just like, man, I like Val Kilmer.
he's honestly he's really good and he doesn't talk much. Like he doesn't say a lot. He's kind of a quiet guy. Like he just like he probably has like 15 lines in the whole movie. Like he doesn't talk a lot. Tom Sizemore talks a lot. Al Pacino talks a lot. But you can tell Chris like everything he does is like through his actions and even just like little bits if you notice like when they're trying to break into that like to steal
Into
that like
the
metal like the precious
Yeah, and he's
metals.
like drilling, and he's like,
Yeah,
"What?"
just like seeing him do that, just the way he like when they have to like run and the way he like it's like they have everything prepared. Like if we get busted, take off your gloves and shit, leave it behind so you don't um
Mhm.
and just the way he like acts, it's one of those things where like a bad actor would make that look stupid. Where it's just they had like everything. It's like
He
when you're
plays a
climbing up
degenerate
electrical
so
poles.
well.
Yeah, it's like they just prepared. Like you can tell the movie was like so well rehearsed. And there's also like all the little plot lines. There was like the Donald Breenan, the guy that just got out of prison. He was working that shitty job, and then he gets the chance. It's like, hey, you want to go participate in this robbery? And he's
And then
like,
he gets
yeah,
shot.
and he gets killed. And it's only like a small part in the movie. And then there's the other, with the one Waingro, the bad guy who turns out
Yep.
he's like murdering prostitutes. Like all these little things that don't necessarily, they're not even really wrapped up.
But they
But I
add color in there. Like Tone Loc scene in there, that added
yeah,
color
yeah.
in there
That's one of my
too.
favorite scenes too. It's just like how like the whole movie, like just on that one little coincidence that that one snitch's brother happened to run into the one guy who just happened
And
to kind of say one little thing, and that like opens up
triggered everything.
whole movie. Because yeah, because they even Robert De Niro and his buddies, they're like how the fuck are the police onto us? Like where'd this come from? And I bet you they never figured it out. Like it was so random. And it kind
So
of makes,
what
is that how it works in real life? Like the police just, they'll interview everyone that knows the murder victim, and some tiny thing will just trigger some lead. Like,
Oh, I bet you they're always trying to like get an informant in or like get that yeah, I bet you that's where a majority of cases get broken is someone has to say something, otherwise, yeah. So what would you end up rating it? Is Heat like your perfect 10?
I would have like, part of me, I don't want to give any movie a perfect 10 because it's like, you
I
know,
get it.
because then what do you when you see a movie that's better, right? I kind of want to leave some wiggle room, but I would say it's as close as possible. Um, there are like I'm sure there's very minor things I didn't like about it, but it's not enough. Like I'm not gonna criticize it for anything. So it's like for me, it's up there with like The Godfather of like near perfection, and it's one that I
Yeah,
come
I'd give it a
back to
nine.
like
I'd
a
say it's
lot.
like there. Again, like it's just such a top level performance. Where do you go from there? Like you've done like the best. I think I saw it back to back with Ronin because that was another De Niro movie from the 90s. And like Heat's the better movie, I think.
Yeah, I like Ronin a lot. It's a cool movie, but Heat
Heat's
is
the better one.
like yeah, it's better. Like Michael Mann is like he's a very good director. Like I always come back to Manhunter, which is funny because I've heard that he hates that movie because it was like so rushed and like just things went wrong. But you wouldn't know to look at it. Like it's just there's something about his movie. Like it's not like a modern action movie where there's a cut every like 1.5 seconds. Like
Agreed.
it's like he's like here's a good looking shot and everything is well staged and well
He
taken.
spends his time with it.
Yeah, it just and like the I think he like wrote it too, or he like at least he worked on the script. But it's like the dialogue is just like top notch,
It is.
and he's like even has his own lingo in it. Because there's a movie called Thief with James Caan.
With James Caan, right?
Yeah, and it's like it's similar language. It's almost like it's in the same universe. Like the
I love Thief. Honestly, I might have to rewatch that with that in mind. I never even thought of them being in the same universe. But like,
yeah, if you listen to it, it's like they have the
who
same
was the
lingo.
old? Who was the guy that they were talking about? That was that the guy from Thief? Maybe the guy was like De Niro was like, remember, so and so said I met an old con back in the thing, and he's like,
Yeah,
you got to walk away like within 30 seconds.
yeah, Jimmy McElroy. I don't know. That was the guy's name in Heat. I don't know if that's his character name or something, but yeah, actually, that's a good fan theory that could have been
Yeah,
because yeah, that would have been like because the movie was like 10 years earlier or something or maybe more.
about like 78 or something, I think
Yeah,
was
so it
was
could have
Thief.
been like so yeah, it could have been that same character.
Hey. I'm really gonna rewatch Thief and like keep that in mind.
All right, well, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy, guys.